Hey everybody, it's the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm Aaron Maté, sitting in for Jimmy. Here with Misha Pollan and Americans comedian Kurt Metzger. And let's check in on Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill, known best as the actor who played Luke Skywalker and turned liberal Twitter activist. Listen to his insight here about the war in Ukraine.
The way the Ukrainian people have come together in these terrible times. I mean, like you say, we've never seen a sovereign nation invaded by a hostile foreign nation since World War II.
Let me just play that back.
The way the Ukrainian people have come together in these terrible times. I mean, like you say, we've never seen a sovereign nation invaded by a hostile foreign nation since World War II.
Does he think a sovereign nation means like white? Is that what it is?
Well, even there have been some white nations, or you can call them white nations, invaded by the U.S. This is what Tim Anderson says on Twitter. Star Wars fantasy looks like Luke Skywalker missed the U.S. invasions of Vietnam, Grenada, Panama, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia. Hollywood actor, but like Serbia, for example. I mean, could that count as white?
What counts as sovereign? I always ask this of people, like what? We're just a nation. I wish we were sovereign. What makes it sovereign that we think that we say that their election is fair?
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's what he means, is that no nation whose sovereignty we respect has been invaded, which means that we're good because we've invaded so many people. We don't respect their sovereignty. Here's some responses. The U.S. invaded scores of countries, killed 6 million people since 9/11, and devastated the lives of generations in large swaths of the planet. But the U.S. is neither hostile nor a foreign nation. And this is the craziest part to me of this clip. Somebody pointed this out on Twitter. They asked, "Wonder if Mark Hamill ever talked to the director of the movie that made him famous," because look at what George Lucas said about what Star Wars was inspired by. He was speaking to James Cameron, his fellow director.
You did something very interesting with Star Wars, if you think about it. The good guys are the rebels. They're using asymmetric warfare against a highly organized empire. I think we call those guys terrorists today. We call them Mujahideen, we call them Al-Qaeda.
When I did it, they were Viet Cong.
Exactly. So were you thinking of that at the time?
Yes.
So it was a very anti-authoritarian, very kind of 60s against the man kind of thing, nested deep inside of a fantasy.
Or a colonial, we're fighting the largest empire in the world.
Right.
And we're just a bunch of hayseeds in coonskin hats that don't know nothing.
That's right.
And it was the same thing with the Vietnamese.
Yep.
The irony of that one is in both of those, the little guys won.
Right.
And the big, highly technical empire,
the English Empire, right?
The English Empire, the American Empire, lost.
Yeah,
that was the whole point.
Okay, well, I just learned that George Lucas thinks Vietnamese people are Ewoks.
But aren't you an actor? Aren't you supposed to go to the director, the writer, and say, "So, what's the inspiration here for this thing?" Aren't you supposed to?
Not Star Wars.
Never Star Wars.
Yeah, no, that's been long taken away from. I mean, he kind of his own fault. He sold it, but they go out of their way with that to not respect the lore.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's true. That's true. They did it. But the original Star Wars, I mean, Lucas is saying here that it was written in response to the Vietnam War.
I thought it was what everybody makes it sound like it's World War II it's based on. And I didn't hear him say anything about World War II just now.
Yeah, no. He's talking about Vietnam because it was written in the 70s, and that's when Star Wars was made. But apparently, Mark Hamill doesn't know about Vietnam. But just to remind him, these are all the countries the U.S. has invaded in one map. A lot of places there. Here's a partial list going back many, many years. But anyway. It's easy to make fun of Hollywood actors, but I thought that was a good one.
He's a real Twitter Ukraine flag guy, like
huge.
The current thing, as they say. He's a real big on that.
He's huge, yeah, and he even took part in some sort of effort to get Ukraine drones or something like that. He's been very active.
Well, I think all these people are like CIA, whatever that public relations department they have. I think they're all that because I don't believe any of them are that bright. to most of them probably thought it was called the Ukraine until very recently. You know?
Yeah, well, it's also like how they also, I mean, now everyone pronounces Kiev, because that's how Western Ukrainians pronounce it.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is. So everyone just, that took off pretty quickly too.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I didn't get on board with harassment back in the day. When it went from harassment to harassment.
Everybody, we're doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles in January and February in Los Angeles. And then we're going to Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Nashville. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets and become a premium member while you're there.